Let's start class. Okay, so just asking, but did any of you guys like check out the anime thingy? I thought it was pretty fun, but
I checked out the anime and I watched it with my family. I think my little brother faints.
I've watched it. I
Frankenstein is
knew
a
my my
horror
sister's
story.
gonna get a horror, and then when I tell her, my sister gonna never sleep again.
And I think my brother is 6.
Oh God, yeah, I get it. By the way, what chapter are we at right now? 11?
We passed 11 already.
Okay, so 12.
No, we already
No.
passed 12.
Oh, sorry about that. Uh,
I think we already passed 14.
uh, okay, 13 is also done.
I remember that you should like highlight 14 the last lesson.
Wait, we did 13, right? I think so.
We did 14 already.
What? We did 14?
I think so, yeah.
Oh, yeah, the Turk person thingy. Okay, let's start at chapter 15. We are already at, I, oh yeah, it's 24 chapters, so we have 9 more chapters to go. Okay, let's start. All right, who wants to read the first part? Because I need to, like, split this into two. Uh, anyone? Okay, I'm just going to choose, okay, Luna.
Chapter 15. Such was the history of my cottagers. It made a deep impression on me. I learned from it to admire their virtues and condemn the vices of mankind. But in giving this account, I must not leave out an event that occurred in August of the same year. One night I went to the woods to gather food for myself and firewood for my protectors. On a rock, I found a leather suitcase containing several articles of clothing and some books. Fortunately, the books were written in the language I had been learning. They included Milton's Paradise Lost, a volume of Plutarch's Lives, and the Sorrows of Young Werther. These books gave me great delight. I began to study them whenever the cottagers were busy with their work. They stirred up many new ideas and feelings.
Uh,
As I read the books, I applied many of the details in them to my own life and feelings. I felt that I was similar to the person described in The Sorrows of Young Werther, and yet also strangely unlike them. I sympathized with them and partly understood them, but I was unformed in mind, connected to no other being, and related to no one. Who was I then, and what was I? Where did I come from, and what was my purpose? These questions continually came up again and again, but I was unable to answer them. The volume of Plutarch's Lives contained the histories of the first founders of the ancient republics. Plutarch taught me noble thoughts. He elevated me above the wretched sphere of my own reflections and taught me to admire and love the heroes of past ages. Many things I read surpassed my understanding and experience. I had a very confused knowledge of kingdoms, mighty rivers, and boundless seas, and I knew nothing about towns. The cottage of my protectors was the only school in which I studied human nature. But this book introduced me to new and mightier scenes of action. I read of men involved in public affairs, governing or massacring,
massacre,
massacring their species
massacring. Okay.
massacring their species. I felt a passion for virtue rise within me, and a hatred for vice, as far as I understood the meaning of those terms. But Paradise Lost excited different and far deeper emotions. I read with wonder and awe the story of an omnipotent God warring with its creatures. I often make connections between the story and the book and my own life, like Adam in Milton's poem. I was apparently united by no link to any other being in existence, and yet his taste was very different from mine in every other way. He had come forth from the hands of God, and he was a perfect creature, happy and prosperous, guided by his Creator. He was allowed to communicate with and acquire knowledge from beings of a superior nature, but I was wretched, helpless, and alone. My situation was more like that of Milton's Satin, for like him I felt envy rising up within me. Another circumstance strengthened and confirmed these feelings. Soon after my arrival in the hovel, I discovered some papers in the pocket of the clothes that I had taken from your laboratory. At first I had not paid attention to them, but now that I was able to decipher the characters in which they were written, I began to study them. It was your journal of the 4 months before my creation. You described in detail every step you took in the progress of your work. I am sure you remember those pages. As I read your words, I felt sick. Oh, hateful day when I received light! I shouted in agony. Accursed creator, why did you form a monster so hideous that even you turned away from me in disgust? God in pity made man beautiful and attractive, after his own image. But I am deformed. Even Saturn had his companions. He had fellow devils who admired and encouraged him. But I am friendless and hated. These were my thoughts when I thought of myself. However, when I thought of the cottagers, I began to feel better. They were so friendly and kind. I looked forward to a time when I could introduce myself to them, and I persuaded myself that they would overlook my deformity and be kind to me. If I came to their door and asked for their friendship, would they turn me away? I do not think they would, however. They would, however monstrous my body might seem to them. I decided at least not to give up hope. After a while, I began to prepare for a meeting with them. In the meantime, several changes took place in the cottage. The presence of Safie made the others happy. Felix and Agatha seemed contented. Their feelings were serene and peaceful, while mine became every day more tumultuous. The more I learned, the
Oh,
more
that's
clearly
by the way, sorry, but that was tumultuous.
tumultuous.
Yep.
See what a wretched outcast I was. I cherished hope, it is true, but it vanished when I saw myself reflected in water, or caught sight of my shadow in the moonlight. I tried to crush these fears and strengthen myself for the upcoming meeting in a few months. Sometimes I allowed my thoughts, unchecked by reason, to ramble in the fields of paradise. I imagined that the cottagers would sympathize with my feelings and cheer my gloom. But it was all a dream. There's no Eve to soothe mine sorrows and share my thoughts. I was alone. I remember how Adam had asked his creator for a companion. But where was my own creator? He had abandoned me, and in the bitterness of my heart I cursed him. Autumn passed, and I saw, with surprise and grief, the leaves decay and fall, and nature again take on the lifeless and bleak appearance it had worn when I first beheld the woods and the lovely moon. But my cottagers did not seem to be dismayed by these changes. They loved and sympathized with one another in spite of the changes. The more I saw of them, the more I longed for their protection and kindness. I yearned to be known to them and loved by them. I longed to see to see their sweet looks directed towards me. I dared not think that they would turn from me with disdain and horror. The poor people who stopped at their door were never driven away. I would be asking, it is true, for greater treasures than a little food or rest. I would be asking for kindness and sympathy, but I did not believe myself utterly unworthy of it. As the winter advanced, I thought more and more about my plan to introduce myself to the cottagers. I considered many different approaches. At last, I decided to enter the dwelling when the blind old man was there alone. I knew it was the unnatural hideousness of my body that had horrified others who had seen me. My voice, although harsh, had nothing terrible in it. I thought, therefore, that if I could speak to the old man when he was by himself, I could gain his trust. Then he might be my advocate with others. One day, Safie, Agatha, and Felix went for a walk, and the old man was left alone in the cottage. He took up his guitar and played several lovely songs. Then he laid aside the instrument and sat there, absorbed in reflection. My heart began to race. This was the moment I had been waiting for. I approached the door of their cottage and knocked. Who's there? Said the old man. Come in. I answered. Pardon this interruption, I said. I am a traveler and want a little rest. Will you allow me to stand for a few minutes before the fire? Enter, said De Lacy. Unfortunately, my children have gone out, and I am blind. I'm afraid I will not be able to give you any food. Do not trouble yourself, my kind host. I have food. It is warm, and rest only that I need. I sat down, and a few seconds of silence followed. I knew that every minute was precious to me, but I was unsure what to say. At last, the old man addressed me. By your language, stranger, I suppose you are my countryman? Are you French? No, I said, I was educated by a French family and understand only that language. I am now going to claim the protection of some friends, whom I sincerely love and of whose favor I have some hopes. Are they Germans? No, they are French, but let us change the subject. I am an unfortunate and lonely creature. I look around and have no relatives or friends on earth. These amiable people to whom I go have never seen me and know little. I am full of fears, for I fail there. I may end up an outcast in the world forever. Do not worry. To be friendless is indeed to be unfortunate, but the hearts of men, when not influenced by self-interest, are full of brotherly love and generosity. Rely therefore on your hopes. If these friends are good, you have no reason to worry. They are kind. They are the most excellent creatures in the world, but unfortunately they are prejudiced against me. I am good at heart, but my life has so far been harmless, and I have even done a few good deeds. A few good deeds. But a fatal prejudice clouds their eyes, and where they ought to see a kind friend, they behold only a detestable monster. That's indeed unfortunate, but you are really blameless. Sure you can say them to think well of you? I'm about to try it, that's why I'm so nervous. I tenderly love these friends I have, and also them, offered acts of daily kindness towards them, but they believe that I wish to harm them, and it is that prejudice I wish to overcome. Where do these friends live? Near the spot, the old man paused and continued. If you tell me all the details of your tale, perhaps I may be of use to you. I am blind and cannot judge your appearance, but there is something in you which persuades me that you are sincere. I am poor and living in exile, but it will give me pleasure to help you. Thank you, sir. I accept your generous offer. From your lips first have I heard the voice of kindness directed towards me, and I shall be forever grateful to you. May I know the names of your friends? I paused. This I thought was the moment of truth. The miss the moment that would make me happy or leave me miserable. Or leave me miserable. I struggled to answer the old man, but I was overcome with emotion. I sat down on a chair and sobbed aloud. Just then I heard footsteps outside. I realized that the others were returning. I had not a moment to lose. I took the old man by the hand and cried, now is the time. Save and protect me. You and your family are the friends whom I seek. Do not you desert me. Great God, exclaimed the old man. Who are you? At that instant the cottage door opened, and Felix, Safie, and Agatha entered. Who can describe their horror on seeing me? Agatha fainted, and Safie rushed out of the cottage. Felix started forward and forcefully tore me away from his father. I clung to the old man's knees until Felix struck me with a large stick. I could have torn him limb from limb as the lion rends the antelope, but my heart stayed within me with bitter sickness, and I did not do it. He was about to hit me again when, overcome by pain and anguish, I fled from the cottage. In the confusion, I was able to escape unnoticed and went back to my hovel. Poor guy.
Yeah, poor guy. I mean, like, people are prejudiced though, so you can't really do anything about that part. But
Folks are prejudiced, not that kind of people.
all of us are prejudiced.
Not
If you
all
see
of us.
if you see someone who is
Can you please send the Frankenstein document?
yeah, I did send it. Do you need it again?
Yes, please.
Okay. Just let me uh, okay. It's uploading now, so I think you should wait a few more minutes. One thing about prejudice is that you never really know that you have it until you actually do. Because if you, for example, if you are more, it is statistically proven that if you look at someone who is more considered more easy on the eyes, then you would really just kind of then you would be more willing to help them compared to someone who might have a bit of a different side to them. Example, they may even to people who should be considered uh to be considered something that you should help. For example, if you see someone who is amputated, you might have a slight animosity towards them before you even realize it. Most of the times we make a lot of like first impressions split second. Usually you don't know that you've made your decision about first impressions. So yeah, you usually don't know that when you're being prejudiced towards others. But now back to the chapter. In chapter 15, the monster next tells how it found 3 books in the woods, including John Milton's Paradise Lost, which is an epic poem about humankind's loss of innocence in the Garden of Eden. Monster itself at times sees it as similar to Adam, yet at others he sees himself more like Satan, because he does not have the love of his creator. Adam lost his innocence by disobeying God, his creator. The monster here loses his innocence after being abandoned by his god, Victor. Victor hasn't acted like a god, but like a flawed man, thereby making the monster a devil. Monster also adds that when it fled from Victor's apartment, it accidentally took some of his journal entries, which turns out to describe his creation. You know how well this goes down. It curses Victor for having created something so ugly by cursing itself. Victor created a monster unlike any other being on Earth. There is no one like Frankenstein, dooming it to isolation. One of the things is that you would more likely to bond with someone who is close to you, who has similarities to you. If you don't have anything similar to anyone around, then of course you're going to be isolated. You're going to be alone. The monster decides to reveal himself in the hope that men will be able to see past his ugliness. One day, when Felix, Agatha, and Safie are out from a walk, he enters the cottage and introduces himself to the Lacey, sensing that the blind man will not be prejudiced against him. Conversation starts well, but when the family returns, Felix attacks the monster, Safie runs in terror, and Agatha faints. The first and only kindness that the monster receives comes from a man incapable of prejudice. The rest of the family responds to the monster based on its looks alone. Very cruel. So, one of the things is that one of the literary devices that you guys might see is illusion. If you guys have attended the last creative writing course, then you would probably know this. In chapter 15, the monster alludes to Eve from the Bible as it's described its feelings of isolation to Victor. But the quote is so. But it was all a dream. No Eve soothed my sorrows, nor shared my thoughts. I was alone. I remembered Adam's supplication to his creator, but where was mine? He had abandoned me, and in the bitterness of my heart, I cursed him. This is something that the monster here basically talks about how Eve is a creator, also a creative God, and someone who is created as Adam's as Adam's companion. But Frankenstein, even though he has a creator, does not have company to be there and soothe him, like how Adam had Eve to soothe him. So this is one of the more main reasons that the monsters has also cursed. It's has also cursed its creator. Now let's go on to chapter 16. Right, who wants to read chapter 16? Uh, okay, Han.
Chapter 16 was rage.
Oh, sorry.
After they drove me away, I burned with rage. I could with pleasure have destroyed the cottage and its inhabitants. I could have flooded myself under stress and misery. When night came, I left the hovel and went into the woods. There I was no longer afraid of being discovered, and I expressed my pain by howling. I howled like a wild beast. Oh, what a miserable night I passed! Like the fallen angel in Milton's poem, I bore a hell within me. I longed to tear up the trees and spread destruction around me. I was in deep despair. There were millions of men in the world, but not one who could pity or assist me. Why then should I feel kindness towards men? Were they not my enemies? From that moment, I declared everlasting war against mankind, and most of all, against the man who had created me and sent me forth to this unbearable misery. The sun rose. I heard the voices of men and I knew I could not return to my hovel during the daytime. I hid myself in the woods. The pleasant sunshine and the cool air of day restored me to some degree of tranquility. I revealed what had taken place in the cottage and decided what I had been too quick in drawing conclusions. It was clear that I had made some progress with the old man before the others returned. I decided to return to the cottage and try to speak with him once more. That night, I directed my steps towards the cottage. All there was at peace. I crept into my hovel and waited for the hour when the family arose. The that hour came and went. The sun rose high in the heavens, but cottagers did not appear. I was very anxious. The inside of the cottage was dark, and I heard no motion. Presently, two men appeared. They stopped near the cottage and entered into conversation, using violent gestures. They spoke a language I could not understand. Soon after, however, Felix returned with another man. You understand, the man said to him, that you will have to pay 3 months' rent and lose the produce of your garden. Perhaps you should take a few days to reconsider. My decision is final, replied Felix. We can never live here again. The life of his father is in the greatest danger, owing to the dreadful events that I have related. My wife and my sister will never recover from their horror. I beg you not to reason with me anymore. Take possession of your dwelling and let us fly from this place. Felix trembled violently as he said this. He and his companion entered the cottage. They remained inside for a few minutes and then departed. I never saw any member of the Delacy family again. I spent the rest of the day in my hovel in a state of utter despair. My protectors had departed and had broken the only link that connected me to the world. Feelings of revenge and hatred filled my bosom, and I did not try to control them. Instead, I allowed myself to be carried along by them. I bet my mind towards injury and death. That night, I tore up every plant in the garden and peeled sticks and wood around the cottage. There was a kind of craziness in my spirit and burst all bounds of reason and reflection. I lighted a dry branch of a tree and set the wood beside the cottage on fire. It was a windy night, and the wind fanned the fire. The cottage was quickly swallowed up by flames. I sought safety in the wood, but wasn't sure where to go. I decided to go somewhere far, far away from the scene of my misfortunes. But to me, hate and despise, every country would be equally horrible. At length, the thought of you crossed my mind. Crossed my mind.
Where? Oh, wait.
I had learned from your papers that you were my father, my creator. Among the lessons that Felix had given Safi, biography had not been omitted. I had learned from his lessons the positions of the different countries of the earth. You had mentioned Geneva as the name of your native town, and towards the town I decided to proceed. But how was I to direct myself? I knew that I must travel in a southwesterly direction to reach Geneva, but the sun was my only guide. I did not know the names of the towns that I was to pass, nor could I ask information from a single human being. However, I did not despair. Towards you, I felt no sentiment but hatred. I feeling heartless Creator, you have given me sin and feelings and then thrown me out. But you were the only person who could correct the wrong, and from you I determined to seek justice. My travels were long, and the sufferings I endured painful. It was late autumn when I left the district where I had so long resided. Fearful of encountering human beings, I traveled only at night. Nature decayed around me. The sun kissed to give heat. Rain and snow poured down around me. Mighty rivers froze. The surface of the earth grew cold and hard and bare, and I found no shelter. I had a map, but I often lost my way. The mildness of my nature had withered away, and all within me was turned to bitterness as I made my way to you. I felt the fire of revenge burning horror in my heart. By the time I arrived in Switzerland, the sun had recovered some of its warmth, and the earth began to look green. Generally rested during the day and traveled only at night. One morning, however, finding that my path lay through a deep wood, I decided to continue my journey after the sun had risen. It was one of the first days of spring. The day was sunny and warm. It cheered me. I felt emotions of gentleness and pleasure still within me. Half surprised by the newness of the sensations, I allowed myself to be carried away by them, and forgetting my loneliness and deformity, dared to be happy. Soft tears again wetted my cheeks, and I even raised my damp eyes with thankfulness towards the blessed sun, which gave me such joy. I continued to wind among the paths of the wood until I came to the edge and to a deep and rapid river. Here I paused, not knowing which way to go. Then I heard the sound of voices and hid myself again behind a cypress tree. A young girl came running towards the tree, laughing as if she ran from someone in sports. She continued her course along the banks of the river, but suddenly her foot slipped, and she fell into the rapid stream. I rushed from my hiding place and leaped into the river. The current was strong, but I was able to drag her back to the shore. She was senseless, and I was trying to revive her when I was interrupted by the approach of a man who was probably the person from whom she had playfully run away. On seeing me, he rushed towards me and tore the girl from my arms. He ran into the wood. I followed speedily. I hardly knew why, but when the man saw me drawing near, he aimed a gun at my body and fired. I sank to the ground, and the man escaped into the woods. This was the reward for my kindness. I had saved a human being from destruction, and as a reward, I was left twisting and turning to the pain in a wound which tore my flesh and shattered my bones. The feelings of kindness and tenderness which I had entertained a few moments before gave a place to hellish rage and glazing of teeth, inflamed by pain. I swore eternal hatred and vengeance to all mankind, but the pain of my wound overcame me and I fainted. For some weeks, I led a miserable life in the woods, trying to cure the wound which I had received. The bone had entered my shoulder. I knew not whether it had remained there to pass through. At any rate, I had no way to remove it. My sufferings was also increased by a sense of the interest of the dead. I swore, did. I swore I would not. I would have my revenge, a deep and deadly revenge, such as would compensate for the outrage and suffering I had endured. After some weeks, my wound healed, and I continued my journey. My labors were no longer lightened by the bright sun or tender breezes of spring. I could no longer feel joy. I felt that I was not made for enjoyment and of pleasure. But my tours were drawing to a close, and in 2 months I reached the outskirts of Cinnabon. It was evening when I arrived, and I retired to hiding place among the fields to think about how I should approach you. I was tired and hungry and far too unhappy to enjoy the gentle breezes of evening on the prospect of the sun setting behind the mountains. While I was thinking, I was disturbed by the approach of a beautiful child who came running up to me with all the playfulness of infancy. Suddenly I gazed on him, and I decided me that this little creature was unprejudiced. He has lived too short a life to have acquired a horror of deformity. If therefore I could seize him and educate him as my companion and friend, he would not be so horribly alone. Urged by this impulse, I set on the boy as he passed and drew him towards me. As soon as he saw my form, he screamed. Child, I said, what is the meaning of this? I do not intend to hurt you. Listen to me. He, str- he struggled violently. Let me go, he cried. Monster, ugly wretch. You wish to eat me and tear me into pieces. You are an old. Let me go, or I will tell my papa. My papa is an important man. He is Mr. Frankenstein. He will punish you. Frankenstein, you belong then to my enemy, to him towards whom I have sworn eternal revenge. You shall be my first victim. The child still struggled and called me names. I grasped his throat to silence him, and in a moment he lay dead at my feet. I gazed on my victim, and my heart swelled with joy and hellish triumph. Clapping my hands, I exclaimed, "My enemy is not all-powerful. His death will make him unhappy, and a thousand other miseries will torment and destroy him." As I fixed my eyes on the child and was something glittering on his breast, I took it. It was a portrait of a lovely woman. For a few moments I gazed with delight on her dark eyes and her lovely lips. Presently, however, my rage returned. I remembered that I was forever deprived of the delight that such beautiful creatures could give. I thought also what the woman would say if she saw me. Probably what look of divine kindness would have changed to look oppressive to of disgust and have changed to a look impressive of disgust and fear. Can you wonder that such thoughts stirred up rage in my heart? Well, I was overcome by these feelings. I went to look for a better hiding place. I entered a barn. There, I discovered a woman sleeping on some straw. She was young, not as beautiful as the woman in the portrait, but of an agreeable appearance and blooming of the loveliness of yours and hers. Here I thought each one of those whose truthful smiles were given to own me. And then I bent over her and whispered, "Awake, fairest, your lover is here. He who would give his life to obtain one look of affection from thine eyes, my beloved, awake." The sleeper stirred, thrill of terror ran through me. I thought, what if she awakes and sees me? She curses me and denounces
Denounces.
denounces the murderer. The thought awakened the fiend within me. I swore that I would not be the one to suffer. Thanks to the legends of Felix and the bloodthirsty laws of men, I had learned how to work mischief. I bent over her and placed the portrait securely in one of the folds of her head. She moved again and I fled. For some days I haunted the spot where these things had taken place. Sometimes I wish to see you. Sometimes I desire to free the world and its miseries forever. Glad I wandered toward these mountains. I've traveled back and forth through their immense spaces, consumed by burning passion. If you only can satisfy, I will not part from you until you have agreed to my demand. I'm alone and miserable. Humans will Humans will have nothing to do with me. But creature as deformed and horrible as myself, not denying herself to me, my companion must be the same species and have the same defects. This being you must create.
Okay, thank you. So, now we finally figured out how that portrait ended up in Justine's pocket, and it's already cleared that Frankenstein is the one who killed William. So the summary of the chapter is the family's rejection of Frankenstein himself plunges him in the monster plunges him into a fit of rage. But the beauty of the next day calms him. Decides to approach DeLacy and try to make amends. The monster's faith in old DeLacy shows its last gasp of innocence, saving it from what is the rage born of rejection. But by the time the monster reaches the cottage, the DeLacys have moved out. He sees Felix terminating his lease with the landlord and never sees any of them again. His last link with society was destroyed. So the monster gives in to rage and desire for revenge. He burns down the cottage and heads for Geneva and Victor. Its innocence and hopes of inclusion in society is dashed. The monster is only left with pain. It naturally wants to hurt those who hurt it. That includes human society, symbolized in the house he burns, and its creator, Victor. At one point along the way, the monster saves a beautiful little girl from drowning in a stream, only to be shot by her guardian. It takes him weeks to heal, and his suffering only feeds his anger and desire for revenge. This is also another example of humans' tendency towards prejudice, which only increases the monster's desire for revenge. After a few weeks, the monster makes it to Geneva. There he encounters a young boy. This young boy is actually William. Thinking that the boy would be too young to be horrified by his appearance, and thus could be a companion for him, the monster approaches him. However, the boy is appropriately terrified, shouts that his father, a Frankenstein, will punish the monster. The monster becomes enraged at hearing the name Frankenstein and strangles the boy. The boy dies. Again, the monster shows an innocent belief in man, this time that the young will be less prejudiced than the old. His hopes were dashed, coupled with the boy's connection to Victor. In the spur of moment, the monster was unable to control his revenge. This all explains the murder of William Frankenstein, the boy. Here, it has also just explained how the locket was in Justine Moritz's skirt and not actually someone else's. Luna, do you have any questions?
Why is the book named Frankenstein?
I think it was named Frankenstein after Victor Frankenstein, because the original name of the book is not Frankenstein alone. The original name of the book is Frankenstein, a Modern Prometheus. If you know anything about Greek mythology, you would know that Prometheus is the one who created humans out of clay. So they are basically making a comparison about Prometheus and about Frankenstein. So Frankenstein is just the short name of the actual novel. The full novel's name is Frankenstein, a Modern Prometheus. Okay, who wants to read chapter 17? Lena.
He finished speaking and looked at me, expecting a reply. But I was confused and failed at first to understand what he wanted. He continued, "You must create a female for me with whom I can exchange those sympathies necessary for my being. This you alone can do, and I demand that you do it." The latter part of his tale had angered me, and I could no longer hold back the rage that burned within me. "I refuse to do it," I replied, "and no torture shall ever lead me to do it. Shall I create another like yourself so the two of you can join forces and wipe out the world? Go away. I have answered you. You may torture me, but I will never agree." "You are in the wrong," replied the fiend. "But instead of threatening, I will reason with you. I have done these things because I am miserable, and am I not shunned and hated by all my mankind? You, my creator, would tear me to pieces and triumph. Remember that, and tell me why I should pity man more than he pities me. You would not call it murder if you could throw me off this mountain and destroy the work of your own hands. Shall I respect man when he condemns me? I would live with him in peace if he would accept me, but that cannot be. The human senses are insurmountable barriers to our union. Yet Yet I will not submit like a groveling slave. I will revenge my injuries.
Here. Uh, is she like freezing or something? Um, oh. Anyways, can someone else read in place? Sarah? Sarah, can you read in place of Lena? Um, can anyone read in place of Lena? Hello? Uh, Sarah, can you read in place of Lena? Luna, can you read in place of Lena?
Um,
It's here. If I cannot inspire love.
no, I don't think.
But here, this part, is there something wrong?
No, not really. If I cannot inspire love, I will cause fear. And towards you, my creator, I swear never-ending hatred. I will work at your destruction, and I will not cease until I reduce you to misery and make you curse the hour of your birth. A fiendish rage seemed to come over him as he said this. His face was wrinkled into contortions too horrible for human eyes to look at. Presently, however, he calmed himself and proceeded. I attempted to reason with you. This passion is harmful to me, for you do not reflect that you are the cause of it. If any being felt emotions and kindness towards me, I would return those feelings 100 times. For that one creature's sake, I would make peace with all of mankind. But I am indulging in dreams of happiness that can never be realized. What I ask of you is reasonable. I depend a creature of another sex, but as hideous as myself, it is true, the two of us will be monsters, cut off from all the world. But for that reason, we will be more attached to one another. Our lives will not be happy, but they will be harmless and free from the misery I now feel. Oh, my Creator, make me happy. Let me feel gratitude to you for this gift. Let me see that I excite the sympathy of some existing thing. Do not deny my request. As moved, I shuddered when I thought of the possible consequences of grieving, but I felt that there was some justice in his argument. His tale and the feelings he had expressed proved him to be a creature with feelings, and perhaps he was right. Did I, as his maker, owe him the portion of happiness that was in my power to give? He saw my change of feeling and continued, if you agree, neither you nor any other human being shall ever see us again. We'll go to the vast wilds of South America and live on acorns and berries. My companion will be of the same nature as myself and will be content with the same food. We shall make our bed of dried leaves. The sun will shine upon us and we will ripen our food. We will live in peace, and you must feel that it would be cruel not to allow such a harmless existence. You have been pitiless to me, but I now see compassion in your eyes. Let me seize the favorable moment and present you to promise what I desire. You propose, I replied, to fire from the lands of man, to live in wild places where the beasts of the field will be your only companions. But how can you live who long for the love and sympathy of man, survive in this exile? You will return to seek their kindness, and you will meet with their hatred. Your evil passions will be renewed, and you will then have a companion to aid you in the work of destruction. Now I cannot allow that to occur. Cease to argue the point, for I cannot agree. How changeable are your feelings? A moment ago you were moved by my situation. Why then do you again harden yourself to my complaints? I swear to you, by the earth which I inhabit, and by you that made me, with that companion you provide, I will quit the world of man and dwell in the most savage of places, my evil passions. Can we watch the movie version?
Uh,
Vanish away, for I shall meet with sympathy. My life will flow quietly away, and in my dying moments I shall not curse my Maker. His words had a strange effect on me. I felt compassion for him, and sometimes felt a wish to comfort him. However, when I looked upon him, when I saw that the filthy mass that moved and talked, my heart sickened, and I found horror and hatred. I hated him for what he had done, and yet part of me wondered if I should give him what he wanted to keep him from doing things even worse. Perhaps creating a second creature would be justified if it served to prevent further future violence. You swear, I said, to be harmless, but you have already shown a willingness to do evil. Why then should I trust you? Perhaps this request of yours is nothing more than a trick that will increase your ability to do harm. What's this? He said. I will not be trifled with. I demand an answer. If I have no connections to others and no affections, I can only feel hatred and do evil. But the love of another will destroy the cause of my crimes. I shall feel the affections of a sensitive being and become linked to the chain of existence and events from which I am now excluded. I paused some time to reflect. I considered all he had said and the various arguments he had employed. I thought of the promise of virtues which he had displayed at first and the suffering he had endured. But I thought also of what he had done and what he might do in the future. After much reflection, I concluded that the justice due both to him and my fellow creatures demanded of me, that I should agree with his request. Turning to him, therefore, I said, very well, I agree to your demand on one condition. You must swear to leave Europe forever, and every other resident of mankind, as soon as I shall deliver into your hands a female who will accompany you in your exile. I swear, he cried, I swear by the sun and by the blue sky of heaven, and by the fire of love that burns in my heart. I swear that if you grant my prayer, neither you nor any other human being shall ever see me again. Go home and begin your work. I will watch your progress, and when the time is right, I shall return.
Here. Lena, can you return? You return, so can you continue?
Like,
Yeah, this part.
Russ, saying this, he suddenly left me fearful, perhaps that I might change my mind. I saw him descend the mountain with great speed, and I quickly lost sight of him. His tail had occupied the whole day, and the sun was on the horizon when he departed. I knew that I ought to hurry home before darkness fell, but my heart was heavy and my steps were slow. I was distracted by the emotions which the events of the day had produced. The next morning, I returned to Geneva, and presented myself to my family. My appearance alarmed them, but I answered no questions. I felt as if I had no right to claim their sympathies, as if never more I might enjoy a companionship with them. Yet even in this miserable state I loved them, and to save them I made up my mind to dedicate myself to the task.
Okay, thank you. So, by the last three chapters, all of them were told through the monster's voice. Now, the narrative returns to Victor's voice, fearing that the two monsters will just cause more murders. Fearing that the monster would just cause more murder and destruction. Victor refuses to the monster's demand to be created female. The monster's chorus is that it became vengeful only because of human prejudice and abandonment. But Victor himself is still prejudiced. The monsters argued that its violence stems from its misery, and that Victor, as its creator, is responsible for that misery. The monster adds that if Victor creates a companion for it, the pair will flee to South America and avoid human contact forever. Victor feels compassion at the monster's words, but feels hatred whenever he looks at it. Still, he agrees to the bargain. Monster tells him that he monitors progress and departs. The monster's argument wins Victor over intellectual, and Victor is forced to recognize that he failed the monster in a very terrible way, and that yet at the same time, Victor cannot completely overcome what is his own prejudice. So you can see that chapter 16 here is basically the same place as where the clip I showed you earlier. So yeah, I guess you guys can see that there were a lot of groveling and begging compared to the logical arguments here. Okay, so I'm a bit. Do you guys want to continue with chapter 18 or do you want to do something else?
I don't know.
Like whatever is fine, but okay, how about we put on something?
Up for now and learn something else.
Or if you don't know, there's also there's also like a Netflix show about Frankenstein.
I know there's a Netflix show, but I don't have other accounts.
Yeah, okay, so wait, let me just like okay,
And my mom forbid me to watch it, so it's not.
okay, so do you guys want to see how okay, so there's a really good video and I want to show you guys, but I don't know if I should.
Yeah, if it's not cringy.
Yeah, okay.
My
I
mom did
think
not
it's not.
forbid me to watch YouTube, but my eyes hurt it, so my mom said, let's YouTube watching.
Okay, there's this. And it's really just kind of like it's really it's pretty
Oh. I
I
know
think the content is good. So okay, just
Okay, I
seeing
know.
if you guys can hear the volume.
Nope, can't hear it.
Oh God, I have to share this again. How about now?
Yeah. Didn't turn it on. Okay,
Okay.
In 1815, the eruption of Mount Tambora plunged parts of the world into darkness and marked a gloomy period that came to be known as the year without a summer. So when Mary and Percy Shelley arrived at the house of Lord Byron on Lake Geneva, their vacation was mostly spent indoors. For amusement, Byron proposed a challenge to his literary companions. Who could write the most chilling ghost story? This sparked an idea in 18-year-old Mary. Over the next few months, she would craft the story of Frankenstein. Popular depictions may evoke a green and groaning figure, but that's not Mary Shelley's monster. In fact, in the book, Frankenstein refers to the nameless monster's maker, Dr. Victor Frankenstein. So tense is the struggle between creator and creature that the two have merged in our collective imagination. Before you read or reread the original text, there are several other things that are helpful to know about Frankenstein and how it came to assume its multiple meanings. The book traces Dr. Frankenstein's futile quest to impart and sustain life. He constructs his monster part by part from dead matter and electrifies it into conscious being. Upon completing the experiment, however, he's horrified at the result and flees. But time and space aren't enough to banish the abandoned monster, and the plot turns on a chilling chase between the two. Shelley subtitled her fireside ghost story, The Modern Prometheus. That's in reference to the Greek myth of the Titan Prometheus, who stole fire from the gods and gave it to humanity. This gave humanity knowledge and power, but for tampering with the status quo, Prometheus was chained to a rock and eaten by vultures for eternity. Prometheus enjoyed a resurgence in the literature of the Romantic period during the 18th century. Mary was a prominent romantic and shared the movement's appreciation for nature, emotion, and the purity of art. 2 years after Mary released Frankenstein, Percy reimagined the plight of Prometheus in his lyrical drama Prometheus Unbound. The Romantics used these mythical references to signal the purity of the ancient world in contrast to modernity. They typically regarded science with suspicion, and Frankenstein is one of the first cautionary tales about artificial intelligence. For Shelley, the terror was not supernatural, but born in a lab. In addition, Gothic devices infuse the text. The Gothic genre is characterized by unease, eerie settings, the grotesque, and the fear of oblivion, all elements that can be seen in Frankenstein. But this horror had roots in personal trauma as well. The text is filled with references to Shelley's own circumstances. Born in 1797, Mary was the child of William Godwin and Mary Wollstonecraft. Both were radical intellectual figures, and her mother's book, A Vindication of the Rights of Women, is a key feminist text. Tragically, she died as a result of complications from Mary's birth. Mary was haunted by her mother's death and later experienced her own problems with childbirth. She became pregnant following her elopement with Percy at 16, but the baby died.
Also, if you guys don't know what elopement is, basically means that they ran away to get married because their parents didn't want them to get married.
Shortly after birth. Out of 4 more pregnancies, only 1 of their children survived. Some critics have linked this tragedy to the themes explored in Frankenstein. Shelley depicts birth as both creative and destructive, and the monster becomes a disfigured mirror of the natural cycle of life. The monster, therefore, embodies Dr. Frankenstein's corruption of nature in the quest for glory. This constitutes his fatal flaw, or hamartia. His God complex is most clear in the line, "Life and death appeared to me ideal bounds, which I should first break through and pour a torrent of light onto our dark world." Although he accomplishes something awe-inspiring, he has played with fire at his own ethical expense. And that decision echoes throughout the novel, which is full of references to fire and imagery that contrasts light and dark. These moments suggest not only the spark of Prometheus's fire, but the power of radical ideas to expose darker areas of life.
Right, I hope that was helpful. Although I'm pretty sure some parts are still pretty scary for you guys.
We have 15 minutes more to end this class.
Okay, 15 minutes is not enough for us to read an entire chapter.
Yeah, I know.
So, let me see what I can do.
Playing
So
a game?
we're gonna watch some more of
Can we play a game?
No, I don't. I do
Play a
it,
game?
not
Look it.
bamboozle. Not bamboozle.
Okay.
Not bamboozle, please.
Okay, I get it.
Booklet? What about book? Look at? Yeah. Oh. Don't know.
Let me see if there's a booklet. I always forget to like prepare something.
Something good. Something in booklet, right? Prepare the study class.
Yeah, I don't know what to choose in booklet because I do have to see the
Just
questions.
choose
here.
anything. Choose Lego. Choose anything, but not so.
This thing is quite difficult, so I don't know.
Which is it? What is the name of the one we chose?
Okay. You guys can see the booklet thingy?
Yeah,
Okay,
reject.
Fishing.
No, too boring. Monster.
Or
No, that's only plus only.
yeah, I
Can I
know.
leave early?
Yeah,
tower
sure.
defense.
Yeah,
What tower
I have
defense?
work.
I like tower defense.
I do not like tower defense. I don't understand why.
You used to like at the end, at the first like 10 lessons, you were like tower defense, tower defense.
Nope, only
Yeah, you were.
Jerry. Nope, not me. Count me out. Count me out.
What? I don't really know. Whatever, fishing?
Cafes.
Maybe Monster Bro
Tower
or
of
Cafe.
Yeah, Monster Bra.
Monster Bro.
Tower of Defense. Monster Bra. Monster Bra is a little bit boring. I
No,
think
it's not boring.
there is it boring to you? You should try to win it. No, Monster Bra is like you just kill the monster and answer the question. That's the that's
Cafe?
that's the name of Monster Bra. They have monster.
Monster
Yeah, there's
Bro.
monster and there's also a brawl.
Yeah. I think there's four. Just cafe. Cafe could be okay.
Yeah,
Cafe,
Cafe.
you need fast.
Yeah, let's do cafe.
And it's not very good. Cafe is okay.
Yeah, play Cafe.
Okay, let's do cafe.
Cafe is okay. Frankenstein. Hey, can we use random names?
Yeah, absolutely not.
Random names, please.
God, I hate the music.
Why do you hate the music so much?
It's weird.
Yeah.
Also, the link is now in the chat.
Thanks. Whatever. I'm gonna just put into my name, which I don't understand. I'm just gonna do crazy names. Don't judge me.
Who cares?
Don't judge me. My name's not crazy at all. It's still my name. My name's still my name. Cafe, should I just use or like milk? Use some milk. I know what shop. Luna hates Luna. What? Whatever. I'm just.
Oh God. Everyone, just
Yeah,
get
okay.
in.
Hold on.
Someone hit each other. You should do random names so people wouldn't comment silly names or something. Ouch.
Yeah, baby shark.
Wait, what? We have a baby shark. I wish there's a baby tree in Bangladesh.
I should really change my banner.
Wait, which is the banner? I don't know. There's two banner. Okay, you're the next banner.
Okay, is everyone in here?
I don't think so.
I think I did let you join late, so I'll just start because
No, thank you. Okay, restart. I don't know. Wait, I just have one left.
wait. Uh,
Okay. Okay.
what do we do? Let's.
Oh, oh no.
What? I can't. Lena hates Luna. Oh God. I can't give the food to the customer. What happened?
Toast.
See, Okay, so let's see how we're going here.
What? I had just used some of my money to buy new food.
Okay, oh sorry. Sorry, that wasn't necessary. So first is Guangming and then it's Luna or Lena, I don't remember. But I'm just asking how did you guys find the questions? Was it hard or something?
I think it's
Easy.
okay. Game.
Okay-ish, I guess. Okay, so this is the end of our class. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.